Rev up your engines! Bob the Hat King said, should I use belt conditioner to prolong the lifespan of my belts? Is it good for preventive maintenance or a waste of money? It's beyond a waste of money. It actually makes things wear out faster. Modern belts are made to run dry. Right? They got little grooves. They fit on the little grooves on the alternators and power steering pumps and the crank, all that, right? You put any kind of lubricant on there, it'll make them slip. And they'll wear out fast. Your alternator may not charge correctly. Your water pump may not pump enough water. You get overheating problems. Don't touch modern fan belts. Leave them alone. When they're worn out, you replace them. They're made to have nothing done to them. Nothing at all. Now, let's say you got an oil leak somewhere and oil gets on it, well, you could spray them with some spray cleaner to get the oil off. But you don't want to put any kind of, in quotes, conditioner on fan belts. They're made to be run naked. Don't ever put anything on them. They're not like the old belts that were just a one groove belt that you could put a little bit on because it was just a belt, just an actual belt, maybe about that wide, no grooves or anything in it. But they're all grooved now. You don't do anything to them. When they get old, you replace them. Barum 11 says, should I buy this repossessed Nissan Sentra? I'm looking at a 2017 Nissan S manual transmission 6-speed, 105,000. The bid's at $6,500. What are your thoughts? It's a 6-year-old, soon to be 7-year-old Nissan. I'm not a fan of those things, but it is a standard transmission, a manual transmission. The automatic stink in those things, those Jacko transmissions are crap, but that transmission is okay. So it could be a good car. Depends. You said the bid's at $6,500. You know how bidding wars go. People are idiots. They keep bidding and paying too much. $6,500 would be okay, right? But if it goes twice that, no way would it be worth that. They're not that great cars, and it was repoed, right? Well, they repo cars because people don't pay for them, right? Generally, the people who do not pay for the cars don't maintain them either. So you'll be buying a non-maintained Nissan car that's 6 years old and you don't even know what the price is. I mean, if you could get it for $65, maybe, but I personally would kind of stay away. Repo cars, the people don't maintain them. If they're not paying, it's probably got dents in it. Who knows how they drove it like maniacs? No, we're not paying on it. We don't care if it falls apart. They're going to repo it anyway. So repos aren't the greatest thing to buy. My PC says I got a 93 Corolla with excessive oil consumption. I drive about 120 miles a day commuting. Now I'm burning 2 quarts in 475 miles. I noticed there's a black stain as though oil is shot out the tailpipe. Should I use thicker oil? Is it worth fixing? All right, well, start with the simplest thing. Get a factory OEM PCV valve. If it's stuck open, it will suck raw oil and burn just like that. Because if you're really going through a quart of oil every 230 miles or so, that thing's burning it like mad. If it was the piston rings, it would be running like crap too. Could just easily be the bad PCV valve. Change that out. Now, if that helps and it still burns a little, you could use like a 20/40 oil, a little heavier oil, put some STP oil treatment. It could help it a little bit. But that is so massive, there's got to be something seriously wrong with a bad PCV valve. And those things only cost like $10-12 on those things. Put one in, it may help a whole bunch of it. And I don't know if you're probably not the original owner. If you knew the history, you'd know the oil changes and stuff. But if the oil hadn't been changed much, eventually everything will wear out. But, try the PCV valve. And if that doesn't fix it, do a compression test of the engine. Take the spark plugs out. Do a wet and dry compression test. And if you see the pressure so much dry and then you add a little oil in each one and it goes way up, that means the piston rings are worn out. And I would just keep driving and add oil till it went and then get rid of it. It's a 93. It's not worth replacing an engine on something that old, because to do it correctly costs too much money. You can get it done, but why on something that old? Paint's probably all faded and stuff. It wouldn't be worth putting a bunch of money into. Jay Nelson says, my cooling fan won't work. Got no 2 Mazda. Cooling fan doesn't work. Makes a bubbling sound on when it gets hot. There's a relay missing from the box, but there's nothing to say which relay it is. It's probably the fan relay that's missing. The burbling is because it's getting hot. When it gets hot, it starts to boil inside, and then you hear it burbling because it's bubbling inside, right? Now, go to a Mazda dealer. They got all the relays and microfiches. They can show you on their computer. Say, where's the fan relay? They may say it's there and it's missing, right? Now let's say it's not the fan relay that's missing, but it's something else. You got a 21-year-old car. What you can do, which is not that hard to do, you can just rewire the car by either putting in a toggle switch or rewire it so whenever the car starts, the cooling fan will run just by changing the wires going to the fan. You can rewire it very easily. I have videos on YouTube show you how to fix cooling fans. You can just rewire them with a toggle switch if you want. And a fuse. And it'll work perfectly fine, right? Those things are all computerized, and so many things can make the systems go out, make your head spin. And in an old car, I got tons of people driving them where when they run the car, the fan just runs the whole time. When they shut it off, it goes off. Big deal. You might lose 1/100th of a mile of gallon gas mileage for the extra electricity the alternator's generated, but it's nothing. You know, it's a lot simpler. You can simplify them when they get old. E. Oliver 65 says, my keyless entry touchpad is broken on my '04 Ford Explorer. Everything else works. What could be wrong? All right, well, I've worked on enough of those things. Odds are the keypad's broken. They break all the time on those Fords. You know, they're touch-sensitive things. They just break over time. Now, when you find out how much money it costs to buy another one, have it reprogrammed and put it in, you'll probably just be happy using your key or your remote to unlock the car to use that stupid thing, because they all break like that, and they cost a small fortune to repair. There's no parts you can check. It's all electronic, and it's a relatively complex system, too. That's just a touchpad, then it goes to a control module, then it goes to relays, then it goes to the motors to unlock the door. So, my advice is live with it, unless you want to spend a whole bunch of money on a 20-year-old vehicle just so the stupid touchpad will work on it. But, I mean, if you really want to, price out a new touchpad, putting it in, reprogramming the computer, and you'll probably say, yeah, okay, I'll leave it alone. Short Logger 515 says, when should I replace the ball joints? I got a 2011 Ram 1500 with 140,000 miles. I'm going to lift a little. I know the struts are leaking, so I got brand new Bilsteins going front and rear. My question, should I change the ball joints and tie rods while you have it apart? Okay, you got 140,000 miles. Go ahead and change them now. Especially the ball joints. The ball joints on Rams are notoriously a weak point. They put relatively cheap ones in. I would go with really good aftermarket ones like TRW. I would definitely change the ball joints. I mean, if you're going to go through all that trouble, you might as well do tie rods too. But it's the ball joints that wear. The big strain is on the ball joints, and they've had nothing but problems with those Rams with ball joints breaking on them. So I would definitely, and I would use the TRW. They're pretty high quality versus the original equipment ones that were a lot cheaper made. Big D says, my 2006 Nissan Xterra has the belt squealing on warm startups. What could it be? Bearings, condenser, water pump, pulley? I would just say change the V-belt. Just change the rubber belt, see what happens. They wear over time. You know, start there. That's a simple thing. Now, if the noise still comes, then what you're going to have to do is get yourself a stethoscope, any kind of noise listening device, have somebody else start it up and quick go around and see where the squealing noise is coming from, right? Most of the time, with that kind of mileage, just change the belts. That's all you got to do. And if that doesn't fix it, then you got to go a little bit further. But with that kind of mileage on it, just change the belt. So always start simple. Don't say, I'm going to change the engine. The engine's got it. I'm going to change the computer. I think the computer's bad. No. Find out if anything is wrong before you get to the major problem. You don't do brain surgery because you've got, a splinter stuck in your cheek or something. Start with the obvious, simple things first. All right. As should be expected, the green revolution for electricity is being held back by red tape. Oh, let's see. It has to do with the government. Isn't that a surprise? Of course, everybody says, wind turbines, great, we're going to generate electricity, but then, not in my neighborhood. Especially offshore in the United States, because a lot of the offshore, who's on the shore? On the ocean. Very rich people with their mansions looking out at the ocean, right? They don't want to look at these ugly wind turbines, right? That's one of the reasons they're trying to plan, let's put them way offshore so they can't even see them. They're way out there, 30, 40 miles away, right? Which, of course, then they have to have 30, 40 miles of electrical cable that can go bad, that goes under the ocean. And now there's a 3.5 gigawatt wind farm they're trying to build in New Mexico. But then they find out they have to make 500 miles of transmission line to send it somewhere. Because, like I say, people want the solar and the wind farms to be in the middle of nowhere, so they're not looking at it, but then they got to send the electricity. And of course, there's loss of power. You transmit it over long distances, you lose some of the power then. But they're ugly and people don't want to look at them. In other words, people want to have their cake and eat it too. We want clean electricity, but we don't have to look at the things that generate it, right? Now, one of the biggest problems in the United States, the time it takes to get clearance for these green energy projects because of, guess what? Governmental red tape. Here's the hilarious thing. Wind, solar power, geothermal power, hydroelectric power take between 5 and 15 years just to get construction authorization, not the actual building of it, just to get authorization. Oh, the red tape is everywhere, right? And then, of course, especially in California, local groups can vote against it because they're like, we don't want this in our neighborhood. Just like some of the ones where they're going to make biofuel. Of course, biofuel still is fuel, you know, it's going to be burned and stuff, and it's polluting when you create it, most of it. And so they were putting them in lower income areas, and the lower income people were saying, hey, we don't want this. You're always giving us the crap end as the chemical factories, whatever, in our neighborhood because we don't have any money. So you're going to have a political push against the stuff all over the place. Here we go. The green-red tape fiasco. I mean, you got to laugh at anything the government's doing because it's like a rat's nest anytime they try to do something. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.